We start with new information in the Christopher Cummings cold case. One of the men accused of killing the ODU student was in court today in Norfolk.
Cummings, the nephew of the late Congressman Elijah Cummings, was shot to death in his off-campus apartment. This year, Norfolk police arrested 4 men for the 2011 shooting. They are Ahmaud Watson, Javon Doyle, Kwame Edwards, and Rashad Dooley. At a bond hearing today for Dooley, we learned more about the alleged connection between Cummings and the suspects. Ann Sparacco is live with the latest.
Janet David, Dooley's lawyer, expressed disappointment when the judge did not grant him bond today, but the prosecutors argued against the bond, using details from the night that Christopher Cummings was killed, saying that Dooley is too much of a risk to the public at this time. Rashad Dooley, one of the 4 men charged in the shooting death of ODU student Chris Cummings, will remain behind bars for now. Cummings was killed in an off-campus housing in June of 2011. 10 years later, in August, Dooley and the others were charged. Dooley's grandfather, Larry Tibbs, testified in court Wednesday, saying his grandson always tried to stay out of trouble growing up. The prosecution argued against that, saying Dooley was arrested a few times in the last decade for possession of a weapon and marijuana. The prosecution also used details from search warrants in this argument, saying Dooley knew Cummings before the day he was killed. The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office says Cummings sold marijuana to both Dooley and one of the other suspects in this case, and added Dooley's history makes him a big risk to the public. His lawyer, Eric Korsland, says Dooley has cooperated with police and should have been given bond.
And I think his behavior, his conduct confirms his innocence. I have not heard any credible evidence tying him to this homicide at all.
Korsland says Dooley maintains his innocence, and the judge denied the request for a bond. And Dooley's lawyer says state and federal investigators interviewed Dooley shortly after the night Christopher Cummings was murdered. The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office would not comment or say as to why it took 10 years for these charges to be formally filed. Live in Norfolk, I'm Ann Sparacco for 13 News Now.
There's no trial date set at this time for Dooley or the other 3 men. We'll let you know when those trials are announced.